Welcome back to another hour of Scotch Hour. My name is Noah.
And this is Jesse.
All right. Well, hopefully everyone had a nice, wonderful week ahead of this past weekend. Another one ahead of them coming up. As I stumbled through that intro right there. So this evening we have the Aerstone, the Sea Cask, right?
The Sea Cask, 10-year, yes.
10-year, all right. And from there, we went to, we have our shout-outs after that, and then our restaurant review, Takoda. And then our Smarter Challenge being Fight Club.
Scotch Review.
Aerstone 10-year Sea Cask. You go to, find any real research about this distillery, and there's not a whole lot to find as far as their range of scotches. They have two, the Sea Cask and a Land Cask. The Sea Cask is known to be light, the Land Cask a little more smoky. So with this one, we are trying the Sea Cask. This one is another one of the distilleries owned by William Grant and Sons. The master distiller here is Brian Kinsman at Aerstone, and it could be a pretty interesting scotch. I mean, I have to admit, I've had it before, and it went down pretty easily.
I would not know because I have not tried it yet. So I am definitely looking forward to it. And as you mentioned, there's only two different kinds. There's the Land Cask and Sea Cask. This is part of the lowland, so right. This is a lowland.
Lowland, yes.
And from my understanding, they have the difference between Land Cask and Sea Cask is that they have warehouses in two different locations. One location is right there on the sea
at the Ayrshire coast. Yes.
And that and because that warehouse is right there on the sea, the maturation process that it goes through, the sea salt from the ocean air there kind of gets into there. Whereas I guess the Land Cask is a little bit further inland, and therefore that warehouse tends to produce something that's a little bit more smoky.
Yes, because they add that peat.
Okay, awesome. And then the only other thing I kind of know about this, which is not a whole lot, is as you mentioned, it is William Grant and Sons. This is they've been around for 6 generations, so
it's a long time.
Yeah, and one of their main brands is Glenfiddich, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Another one, Balvenie.
Balvenie, yeah.
And their list goes on pretty well. If you like a blended scotch, not really our favorite, but they make the Monkey Shoulder, very popular. Clan MacGregor, House of Hazelwood, Tullamore.
Dalmore?
Tullamore.
Oh, Tullamore. Okay.
Yeah, which I've seen, I've never tried, but now it's going to be interesting. Just adds to that very short list of lowland scotches we have tried now. And with this one, Noah mentioned the Ayrshire coast where they have the warehouses. And one of the things about that coast and the impact it has on the scotch maturation process is that there's nice temperature changes, which really help. So there are some cognacs like Celt Cognac who has variations that do very similar things. They actually take the cognac into a ship and take it onto the sea. I'm not quite sure. I mean, I don't think you can shake it and have it explode like champagne or a soda. However, I'm sure it does have some different impacts along the way, especially with those temperature changes.
Wow, I'm looking forward to trying this one out. I do like the box. The box is like a nice white. It's like a grayscale, right? It's a white and gray kind of like background showing the shoreline.
Yeah, the box reminds me of just that, a gray scale version of the old Talisker boxes.
And then it has like the nice kind of like a copper or brassy type of like 10-year listed on there, which kind of I'm assuming it's for the stills, right?
I'm assuming copper stills are the way they go.
It does look like I have a nice color to it.
Yes. Again, you already mentioned, pretty handsome box and bottle. With this, yeah, you could take this to a semi-formal event if, you're not trying to be a brand whore, so to speak. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I want the Dalmore, other times I'm like, hey, let's try Aerstone. It is actually a pretty good looking bottle. It's simple, mature looking. Let's pop this bad boy open, see what kind of treat we have. As far as the decor on the foil, plain black. I do like it's a nice solid foil feel. However, it's not decorated. You don't have the handsome, the classy emblem or anything stamped onto the top of it. One for you, two for me.
Thank you, sir. All right, I guess we'll go into warp speed.
All right, cheers.
Cheers. When looking at Airstone's pour here in this dram, I do get the color here. The color I find it to be somewhere like in like the medium copper type of like color. I do like it. I like the color of it, which has actually been kind of a little bit different, I think, from some of the other lowlands that we had, because I think some of the other ones were a little bit lighter. So I do like this color here a little bit more. When it comes to the bouquet, what I'm getting out of it is I put here sea breeze with biscuits and hints of oak, delicate oak. Like there's like I forget which one it was, but you like, I don't know, probably many episodes ago, you talked about biscuits, right? And how you can smell biscuits. And this one I can kind of smell. It's almost like, imagine being like at like maybe like on the coastline there, like on like in Jersey or in California or something like that, and then like there's like a bakery shop like nearby where you get like whiffs of like freshly made biscuits being cooked, and you get that sea breeze with the biscuits. That's what I'm kind of getting right there with like hints of oak. And as far as like the palette, what I'm getting here is originally and this is, I would not have ever said this, except for I saw it in their tasting notes, but they said cotton candy. You know what? I get cotton candy.
I do too. It's almost ironic.
You're laughing, so you must have known where I was going with this.
Dude, like I was the same way. I'm like, holy shit. That's fucking cotton candy in this scotch.
So yeah, it's like cotton candy with hints of like roasted almond and creamy vanilla. Like if you can mix like cotton candy, like that fluffy sweetness with the creamy vanilla and roasted almond, that's kind of what I'm getting there. And you still get that kind of like the sea salt brine or whatever, just a slight hint of that as well. But as far as my like the finish here, it's a lingering sweetness that has like a delicate oak. Like the oak is not overly powerful, but you can taste that hint of oak throughout that finish there. And
the wood stays on the tongue.
The wood does stay on the tongue. And you may want to fix your headphone there. Or you got like a hair popping up or something. It looks much better now since you wanted me to warn you last time.
That's what I was chrome down, man.
This one you have like a little hair going like.
Hey, Vato.
Like more like alfalfa or something like that.
Alfalfa is cool. He got the lady.
Yeah, he did. But in any case, yeah, this one here, I can see like if you don't want to be like a guy who wants a brand name drop as you were talking about earlier. This would be a great scotch just to take to like an event. And I think the price point is probably fairly decent.
It's like $35.
Yeah, this is kind of like, I will say that it's no Oban, right?
It's bottom shelf, bro.
And it's no like Talisker. But like if you want like kind of like that sea salt flavor or that kind of like that kind of like a Scotch, but you just don't want to, don't want to drop the money for it.
Drop a C note, a blue face.
This is a decent one to replace it with, and I can see taking it, to like hanging out with a bunch of buddies, go watch watching a game or playing poker and stuff like that. And it's also one where, because of the price point, you don't have to worry about sharing it with other people and what they think about it or whatnot. Oh. So I give this one definitely 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, it's for me.
I would give it 4 if I had.
Let me put my. Wait a minute. Last night I saw 4 thumbs.
I saw 0 thumbs. Lots of carpet.
All right. So what Noah's saying about this Scotch,
munching carpet.
I mean, once in a while you need some new carpet. We were talking about that at dinner.
Yeah.
Carpet gets old.
It does.
So with that, I'm right there with you, man. This for me, I'm going medium brass. Not the medium gold of the other lowlands, or even light gold of some of the other lowlands that we have enjoyed on the show. And then on the nose, for me, immediately, light floral, a little bit of oak, and those biscuits, like absolutely the little bit of biscuits, which is interesting because, if you ever go to a chicken place, get some biscuits, what do you usually put on those biscuits? Well, for me, it's honey. And with that, that's one of the flavors I get in here on the palate. I get this blend of creamy vanilla and honey. And I think that honey, it's almost like coats my tongue and stays there through the palate. And then you get this little hint of cotton candy. And if you like cotton candy, this is a win. If you abhor cotton candy, then this probably wouldn't be your favorite Scotch, but it's not going to turn you off. It's not actually like eating cotton candy. There's just this hint of that sweetness in there. For me, it's very close to honey, just a little bit sweeter, more delicate almost. But still, you got that honey. I got that honey coat on my tongue. And with that comes this lingering, creamy honey vanilla flavor with slight tannins and oak. Not meek by any means, definitely there, but not so offensive, too bold. Just a nice, smooth, lingering finish. And I agree with you. I see this, I smell this, I taste this, and I'm thinking of walking on the coastline, walking by the sea. Like, this is definitely one where I'm bringing a glass, walking by the ocean, giving myself a nice big pour, and enjoying a walk, with the cold water rushing upon my feet as the waves crash. That's what I'm smelling, man.
You mean like having a cup in one hand and a bottle in the other?
Oh, yeah.
Just like walking like that?
Oh, hell yeah. Just, looking at all of the beautiful people on the beach, looking away from the non-beautiful people on the beach, enjoying some Scotch.
You know what it also reminds me of? Top Gun Maverick. Jennifer Connelly.
There you go. Jennifer Connelly. This bottle of Scotch, this glass. Yeah, I'm in.
Tom Cruise,
No. He can stay home.
Oh, he can
Jennifer
stay home.
Connelly. Want a drink? It's your bar, right?
The general's daughter, right? Penny.
Right. Penny. It's good stuff. I give it as well my full approval, especially for that price point. Good fun, classy, and enjoyable. I think a beginning drinker could actually enjoy this one too.
Oh yeah, definitely. We could test it on a 21-year-old.
Going once, going twice, gone.
I was gonna say something else, but I was like, yeah, it has to be legal, right? It has to be 21.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I probably shouldn't have drank when I was younger, but I probably drank before I was 21 a few times. Yeah. I'm sure most people do, but.
It's time for our shout-outs.
Really? Not a whole lot of shout-outs. I got nothing, man.
No
How about yourself? What kind of shout-outs do you have?
Well, I can give a shout-out to Black & Decker.
All right.
So Jesse knows this. Like I've like recently, I make this coffee in the morning. So like some people call it like bulletproof coffee or whatever, but it's like butter coffee. And, you know, I went through like 4 different like blenders before I got this like Black & Decker one. So I went to, I think it was Ninja. So I went to Costco.
Going through $100 blenders once a week. I was just like, God damn, son.
So yeah, so I got like the professional whatever Ninja there at Costco, and it's about like somewhere around like, I don't know, like $79, $80 for one of these. And I'm thinking like, okay, it's got to be decent quality. Like I got it, it like the pitcher part would like crack, and then like there'd be coffee all over the counter and stuff. So I returned it, got a new one, did it again like less than a week, and this happened 4 different times. So finally I'm like, screw this, screw Costco, screw this Ninja company, and I went to Bed Bath & Beyond. By the way, if you were like watching the stock markets, you're probably making some money if you bought some of the Bed Bath & Beyond stock when it was like down at like $6 a share. Any case, back to my story here. So I went to Bed Bath & Beyond and I bought a $25 blender that has a glass pitcher, and the thing's been working like a champ. So I got to give a shout out to Black & Decker.
That's a pretty damn good shout out.
Yeah,
it really is. Because you can spend $100 on a blender, last a week. 25 bucks on a blender probably lasts 10 years.
It's lasted pretty well. It lasts longer than the other one so far. So
Black & Decker actually makes a lot of good products, and actually they're part of the parent company of DeWalt. A lot of people don't know that.
Okay.
Nobody wants to like be like, oh yeah, I bought a Black & Decker and paid $200 for this drill that says DeWalt, but ultimately Black & Decker makes those.
Nice. So that was my shout out for this week.
It's a good shout out. I still don't have one.
Still don't have one? Okay. Nah. How about Get It Togethers?
All right. Well, Get It Togethers. Man. Plenty of those. Which one to name? I'm going to go back to Pelosi and the Dems, though. Like going back to Taiwan. What's the point?
I don't know. You tell me.
Start World War III. That's all I've got. Like with everything that's been done, they're definitely showing us that your previous episode and Smarter Challenge on the MIT computer and group, the masterminds in 1972 that predicted the end of civilization, society, before the end of this century, like it's all on track. And these things that have happened the last couple years have really amplified the impacts of everything. First, starting with COVID and lockdowns and everything there, everything, and there has been a domino effect since then. Gas prices skyrocketing, chip shortages, food shortages, inflation has literally all been because of some of those dominoes dealt way back when. And it's just tragic. It really is. And then you have to wonder, okay, so they're not so much saying the world ends in the next 20 years. This is the group from, what was it? It's the Rome group. I think that...
The Club of Rome?
Club of Rome. Yeah, the Club of Rome is the one who ultimately did all this. And, as they have revisited it, not really they didn't revisit it, but as people have, individuals, one in particular recently have revisited, they're like, yeah, damn, we are right on track. 40 years later, 50 years later, this is not looking good. And it really comes down to not the end of the world, but the end of society. And it's important for people to consider the difference, because the end of society is just that. It's okay, so now we have maybe continents starving because they don't have food, or continents whose lifestyles are forced to change because they don't have chips to make cars and they don't have transportation. We're well on track for all of these things right now.
So, depending on how far you want to go digging in the rabbit hole, Club of Rome, Council of Foreign Affairs, the Illuminati, they're all part of supposedly the same type of ruling group that, they wrote out papers and stuff like that. that talks about the decline of society, but how much of it is actually like because it happened naturally, organically, or is it being manufactured? I mean, so like that is a good rabbit hole to go down if someone wants to, but it's
something to be conscious of for sure.
Definitely. My get it together happens to be with the FBI.
Dun dun dun.
First of all, I don't know how many people trust the FBI anymore. How much credibility the FBI has.
Not since they assassinated Kennedy.
But for them to go into Mar-a-Lago, I think I talked about it a little bit last week. But you know, like here's the thing: is like the papers, like the so-called like confidential papers that they were aware of it. Trump has been working with them on it, and they never like rated Obama, who had like over 50 confidential pieces of paper or documents as well. They never rated Hillary Clinton with all of her like thousands of emails and confidential stuff in there. So it just kind of makes you wonder, if we're supposed to be a country based on laws, and it's not, and like we're not supposed to have a 2-tier law system, it really doesn't look like that anymore. So, you know, I think the FBI needs to get it together, or we just need to get rid of the FBI altogether. I don't know, but that's kind of my get it together out there. I know it's a little bit of a rehash of last week, but last week it was a breaking news type of thing.
Breaking news. Dun, 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 dun.
Restaurant Review.
Takoda, right there in Parker, Colorado, right off Parker Road, really.
Yeah, Parker and Hess.
Parker and Hess. So, Takoda, what'd you think?
Looking at the outside, it looks like it's going to be like a huge place, like with like a lot of like tables and stuff like that. But I was surprised when I walked inside. It looked like it only had like maybe like 20 tables. But maybe it is bigger because it does have an upstairs, but it was closed down, so I didn't get to see that. The patio area is actually quite large. They have a lot of tables out there on the patio area, but unfortunately, we didn't get to like check out the scenery all that well because it was raining outside, so the patio was shut down. I thought it looked. I think the inside, like the core inside, was decent. It could have been better, but we've been to a lot worse places too. So. So I'm gonna, I think it's kind of like in the middle of the road there, maybe like a 7 on the inside. It does have like a little stage area, so it might be kind of cool. Maybe like on a Friday or Saturday nights, maybe they have a band there playing. The wait staff was kind of like the bartender was what surprised me because the bartender, like, we didn't sit that close to the bar, but yet the bartender came out and helped us. And I think because of that, he wasn't like super Johnny on the spot, but he was fairly prompt. Like I had to ask him for my water. Like, "You got your beer okay?" But I get that I'm not drinking beer, but I was drinking beer. I was just drinking water tonight. But yeah, and the food, I thought the food was so. I mean, nothing you like to write home about, but the happy hour special made it kind of worthwhile, I think. The Mexi skins, which are kind of like a Mexican type version of potato skins that we got for appetizers, I actually enjoyed them. I thought they tasted good. They could have used a little bit more flavor, and I think you pointed out, I won't steal your thunder, I'll let you.
Nah, man, you're good.
So I think you pointed out like how the ground beef didn't look like it had any seasoning to it. And that's probably why it kind of lacked a little bit of flavor, but for the most part, it tasted pretty good. I wish they would have gave us sour cream though with it.
I thought the same exact thing. I really did. Like, where's the stuff to dip it in?
Yeah,
give me some guacamole, some sour cream, some salsa.
Yeah,
like, let's dip it that way.
The salsa was okay. I mean, you pour like a little bit on, but it was like a little bit too runny to like really enjoy putting on the Mexican, Mexican, I don't know, whatever.
Mexican.
Then the other appetizer we had, I thought it tasted great too, but they called it tots. I don't really see them as tots. I saw them as miniature jalapeno poppers, and I thought those tasted good. I think they went well with the ranch, but here again, I probably would have rather had sour cream than ranch. with it. But overall thought those were good. And then I got the beef nachos as my main meal because I was just going to stick. I was just saying with the happy hour menu and because I wasn't like super hungry after those appetizers. And honestly, this was a fail. I don't really eat a ton of nachos, but if I do, I want my chips to be crispy. I want lettuce and tomato and some black olives on there, some sour cream and guacamole to be served with it as well. They did serve like salsa and sour cream, so I'll give them credit there. And here's what I think where they messed up, and I know some places do this, and I really don't like places that do this because a lot of times they fail because they put like the queso type of cheese on there. And if you get it right away out of the kitchen and you eat it right away, the chips will stay crunchy. But the problem is like if you don't get it right away and they kind of linger on there, or if you don't eat it fast enough, then all your chips get really soggy.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. And so here I'm giving it's a big fail there. I think what they should have done is use like the shredded cheese and melted the shredded cheese on there on those nachos. And I think, you could have still got the cheesiness and you would have had the crispy chips. So overall for the food, gosh, I got to give it like a 6. The core, giving it like a 7. Would I go there to meet friends? Sure. I think that's a good place. I think they have like a decent happy hour. It goes to 8 p.m., so that's like one of the longer happy hours we've been to. So yeah, I think it's an okay place to go. Would I go there for a first date? Probably not. Maybe if I was going to do like an appetizer on the way to go do something else, like to get like a small bite, possibly. But it definitely wouldn't be my first choice. Although I definitely do want to go back because I saw that they had crab cakes on the menu, and I think that looked tasty. So that's kind of my assessment of the place.
All right. Well, Takoda is Sioux, the name meaning everyone's welcome. It's kind of an interesting little get-go.
Sioux like woman or Sioux like Indian?
Sioux like Indian. With it, for me, going in, the place is simple. I don't know what else to say. It is not a happening place. It is not full of energy or excitement. Granted, we usually do these reviews on Monday nights, and I don't know that most people are full of energy or excitement Monday nights, but because we usually do it on Monday nights, we've been to a lot of these places on Monday nights, and they usually have more energy and excitement going on. The bartender, our server, wasn't bad. I agree, though, Noah. Why did we get him? Why were we like the one table not close to the bar, which he singled out? Was he interested in you or me? That's the real question. But
I don't know. I wish we had the waitress. She looked pretty.
Well, she also was very quick.
Yeah, and she looked pretty.
She was probably overwhelmed. She did have a pretty big floor there to cover. The place is not huge, not bigger on the inside, just the opposite of Doctor Who's TARDIS. And with that, the decor was, to me, the decor, ambiance, 6. The service, honestly, it wasn't bad. It wasn't good. 7. He got my beers quick, but that was it. You were absolutely right. That was his one win. I needed a beer. He got it. Bartender, makes sense. He's the one serving the beer. The food, for me, the Mexi-skins were not great. I wanted a crispy skin on the outside. They were not crispy. The ground beef on top tasted literally exactly like ground beef. I would have loved a little cumin or chili powder, any sort of spice in there. The salsa, as you mentioned, was runny, and that was the extent of the toppings that came with them. Again, sour cream would have upped it 2 notches, but still would have left me wanting. The jalapeno and cheese tater tots, for me, those were the win. Out of everything I had there, that was the one thing where I was like, I'd go back and eat those again. I would. Much like yourself, I had nachos, and I got the chicken nachos, and they were a fail. The chips were so promising, too. Here's the thing. He brought it out, and at first there were a couple chips on the side, super thin, cantina style, crispy, salty, just perfect. And then once I got from the outside to the inside, soggy and no crunch, like zero crunch. The cheese or queso that was poured all over it did have good flavor. The chicken was okay. The sour cream with it was the best part of it. And that's weird to say that the sour cream was the best part of the nachos, but it really was. Again, I'm much like yourself. I wish they would have left the queso on the side and given me that opportunity to pour it on as I was eating it, because the chips really did have so much potential. But at the end, the food for me was a 6. Not doing any favors, like getting in and out isn't terrible. It's also not great. So location, ultimately a 6. Would I go there with the first date? Much like yourself, only if I'm stopping by and it's the easiest thing for a beer, and that's about it. Maybe an appy, head on the way. Would I go there with friends who a beer and a couple appies? Yeah, I would do that. I would stay away from the nachos. I would stay away from the Mexicans. I would try something else. The crab cake looked promising. That Colorado burger that had no top bun and was smothered with green chili, that actually looked pretty damn good when they walked by with it. Maybe we just made the wrong menu selections. But what I would like, and you hinted on this, is I'd love to go back, and I'll bet the scores on every aspect would change with that top patio open in the evening, not too hot, no, not too cool, maybe a little breeze, one of those better meals and a beer. I'll bet it could go from my current score of a 6 all the way up to an 8.5.
I would agree with that. I think it has potential to be higher. It just didn't deliver today.
No.
But I'm not sure if the owner was there, but there's like some older gentleman there that was pretty friendly and always checking in on us. So, so I think that was kind of a plus though. But honestly, not my first choice of places, and I was kind of bummed.
And even with the happy hour, I was astounded for as little as we ate. Many of those things being on the happy hour menu, the bill was still $52.
Yeah, I don't know how.
I don't know how either. Probably should have done the math. Maybe they like double charged something.
Quite possible. Quite possible.
Fight Club.
Who's it by?
Chuck Palahniuk. Chuck Palahniuk wrote the book, 1996, 3 years later, made into a movie starring Edward Norton and Brad Pitt. Both are great. In my mind, a lot of fun. Did not do great in the box office. Wasn't a hit at the box office, but immediately, like so many of those movies that don't do great in the box office, but have something there, has become a cult classic, became a cult classic immediately, and has stayed one ever since.
I don't know how it didn't do well. I remember seeing it in the theaters, and I loved that movie from the word go.
Go!
I thought it was a great, entertaining movie. I never read the book. I did start actually reading it this past week, but I didn't finish it. You could tell, like, the book versus the movie, there are some slight differences, but overall, I think it followed. I think the movie, from how far I got in the book, followed it fairly decently well. I think there's a little bit of like a change though between the differences with like Marla and Tyler. So there's like a slight difference between the book and how they interact in the movie. And I also think there's also like a slight difference too about like how he meets Marla and how he meets Bob and stuff.
Yeah, definitely some slight differences there. And with that, the biggest difference really comes at the end. Okay. And at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this since it came out in 1999, he ultimately blows up some buildings, some banks. And there's nobody in them, but he blows them up and ends up it's seen staying with Marla. In the book, it's a little bit different. At the end of the book, he's sitting there, and the skyscraper that he's trying to blow up in the book, he fails because he mixed paraffin in accidentally with the explosive, or maybe it wasn't accidentally, maybe it was intentional. And so he takes a gun and tries to blow his brains out. Ends up waking up in a mental ward in a hospital. And there's a couple of the hospital workers there, and he thinks he's in heaven. He's like, so this is heaven? Like, what the the hell? Why is everything white? Like, because you're in a loony bin, fool. And all of a sudden, these two guys are like, hey, don't worry. We're project members. We're here for you. And we're waiting for you to come back. And that's how the book ends. Is basically he wakes up in a mental hospital after trying to blow out his brain. So the movie much better, much happier. And then he's got these people that he's trying to escape and stop after he builds this nationwide network of anti-social, anti-consumption. And just decides at the end he doesn't want to do that anymore. And then they're after him. He's not getting out. Like, you screwed up.
So, how do you want to approach this movie or the topic here?
What made the movie fun for you?
I think, first of all, like, what I really enjoyed about the movie is the acting. I thought the acting was, I think Edward Norton did such a great job along with Brad Pitt. They both acted. I thought their acting was totally like A-level, top of their game type stuff. And just watching them interact with each other just made it so enjoyable. And just thinking about like how, like, if you were Edward Norton and you're like talking to your boss and you're wanting to, like, you start beating the shit out of yourself in front of your boss, and then they can kind of like
make him stop hitting me.
It's just
so good.
You watch that and like, wow, that would be kind of like that you can just imagine it and be like, that'd be kind of cool if you could pull that off.
I mean, he did.
Yeah.
Got his nice settlement, fat check, paid to stay away from work for a year.
So it was, I just think it was kind of like a fun ride. I loved like some of the twists and turns you saw in there about, him having like the split personalities and stuff like that. And it was just kind of an entertaining and fun ride, to like watch. Some of the underlying like messages and stuff like that, though, I think I can almost relate to some of them, maybe, in a sense, as far as like, if you allow banks and credit card companies to manipulate the currencies and stuff like that, which we have done with the federal bank, and we were also warned not to do. That's why the Constitution says to have our money based on commodities like gold and silver. Then you can see how people have become economic slaves, and to kind of see like what they're kind of doing, they're trying to like. I think it was kind of naive to do this because honestly, I think there's like backups of the backups of the backups. So if you blew up all those like buildings like he was doing, I think there's probably a backup somewhere of like all the debt that's still out there. But the idea about it, like bringing everyone back to zero and starting over from scratch and trying to do it right, I kind of like the idea. Is it feasible? I don't really see it unless you want to do a total collapse of society.
Which may be on its way anyway. It is interesting because the book was written, we're talking about 28 years ago now. The movie came out 25 years ago. And with that, a lot has changed. So back then, it was easy to read the book and believe, as you mentioned, that it would be cool if you could just blow up some banks and reset the economy, free everyone who had become an economic slave to interest, to banks making their billions while people were paying them because the people needed basic necessities. And because of that, it's interesting. Nowadays, we're again, 28 years later, yeah, that doesn't happen. There's so many backups to backups to backups. The government probably has one of everyone's financial transaction that's ever happened since they could start recording it illegally, and I'm sure do. With that, I don't think it would be the same fundamental now. However, in 2015, the author did write a comic book, Fight Club 2, and it was, again, kind of not the best release, but did well with the cults.
Oh, I didn't know about the Fight Club 2. So what happened in there?
I haven't read it.
Okay.
I have no idea. I wasn't that interested. I was just like, okay, so the movie and the book, but really the movie is so much fun because you pointed out Edward Norton does an amazing job. He is a phenomenal actor. I loved him as the Hulk. I loved him in this. Pretty much every role he's ever played in, he's done just an absolute amazing job, almost overshadowing other greats. I think it did take someone like a Brad Pitt at that pinnacle in Pitt's life, where Pitt was the hot thing going right then, to counterbalance the great acting that the narrator, played by Edward Norton, portrayed. Some of the fun things for me really are the fact that Edward Norton is here and he's facing and dealing with insomnia because his job's flying him all over the place. He's doing product tests, really seeing if it's more cost effective for companies to ignore a possible defect in a vehicle or an appliance or a product than it is to recall it. So recalling it, replacing the potentially hazardous parts or the entire thing altogether. The fundamental piece is like, it's kind of a dream job. Like, you get, especially if you get paid enough, it's kind of fun to go out and do this research and then get to decide, you get to play God in a way, much like a doctor. Ironically, he goes to a doctor to help him deal with his insomnia, and the doctor's like, dude, you need to get over this. You don't have a hard life. Like, if you want to go see what real suffering's like, go to the testicular cancer support group. And he does. And it's just like, okay, you're the doc. Who the hell kind of doctor says that? Like, a lot of them probably think it. This doctor actually said it.
Well, I think you don't really get that from the movie, though, because he just starts off going there. So I think you get that kind of like backstory from the book.
Yes, but it's crazy because he starts going to all these support groups and he actually enjoys it because it gives him a chance to cry, to let the emotions out. He can actually sleep. All these other people are actually dying from cancer or any number of things. And dude, I think they bring some great comedy into it through truth. Like the one show or the one group he goes to, and there's the older lady who's like stage 4. She knows she's on her way out and she's like, I'm, so-and-so years, old. She's not unattractive. She's like, I'm so-and-so years old. I know I'm going to die soon.
I just want to get laid.
Yeah, I just want to get laid. Like, will somebody please, here's my phone number. Here's my address. Will somebody please?
Porno.
Yeah. Whatever you want. I just really need to get railed, It's just like, that's real.
It's funny though, because they talk about it in the movie, but it's kind of glossed over. But in the book, they do make a big deal about it. He kind of goes on for a little while talking about it.
But it's like, that's just it. Like, if most people were dying, and I think she says she hasn't been intimate, I think it was like 5 or 6 years, or maybe it was even longer than that. That is something that physical touch is something that people want. People need, she's here, and back in 1996 or the movie 1999, to have cancer, to have no hair, to be dying like that, people were afraid to touch you. And so she's not even getting hugs probably from people that loved her at one point in time. She's not getting any of that. And she's just like, hey, man, here's where I say, here's what, please come to me.
She kept on going to Tyler to get.
Well, yeah. And it's great. Like, I loved because it was real, and it's also funny because it's real. That's literally why different parts of this movie or book are funny, is because, man, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Like, yeah, man, my worst financial state in my life, I would have blown up a bank if I thought I could get away with it and it wasn't wrong. It didn't go against my code. I would have blown up a bank, just like he's thinking to reset his own financial situation. And also, theoretically, he's helping everyone else. Well, there's always a selfish thing. He was playing God again. But through that, he meets Marla. And with Marla, man, it's interesting because we talked about this. Like, is she hot? No. Is she attractive? Yes, but not because of her looks. What is it that's attractive with this lady? I think it's just, again, that she's honest, she's real.
Probably, yeah. She got that crazy too.
Yeah, that's just the thing. Like, she needed to be a little bit hotter to have that 10 crazy scale score. Like, whoa, you're like a 5, maybe 6 on the hot scale. You're like a 10, maybe 12 on the crazy scale. One needs to go. Like, we need to readjust. And they call themselves tourists as they go to all these support groups, which is also great because I think it's real. I think the word tourist was intentional. Polonic did that very well because you literally are experiencing. Yeah, and that's why they're doing this. They're going to these other things to experience something like you do when you're on vacation. You're in a new land, a new country, a new state, a new lake, a new ocean. You go something new and you're experiencing it just like a new scotch. The smells, the taste, the texture, the experience, the feeling. And that's what they were getting. All of those things by going to these different support groups. Again, Polonic used the term tourist, that word flawlessly.
I think, I agree with you. You used the word tourist flawlessly there. And I think it shows a little bit of a reflection of our society, of how they went to all these different types of support groups and how our society has pretty much pushed these people off to the wayside. And then this is only that's the only place where people can go to, get some kind of support, unfortunately. And I think you do see some reflections of real life in there too, like looking at them peeing in the soup.
Oh my God, so nasty.
But I mean, you
don't get the soup.
I went down if there's some cooks out there that do stupid things like that.
Yeah, I hear urine is sterile, so.
But it just kind of, and it also kind of makes you wonder, if he did suffer from insomnia, what would you do? Obviously, if you're not sleeping, you probably would pick up a second or third job late at night doing something like they talked about Tyler doing, working at the hotels or working at the movie theater, putting in the clips. That was funny too. In the book, talking about the movie theater was even better in the book than it was actually in the movie. But it kind of makes you start to ponder and wonder, if you were awake so much and you did so many things, at what point would you kind of almost start to lose your mind and lose who you are?
Well, he did it very well, becoming Tyler Durden, who in the movie is Brad Pitt and also plays his role flawlessly. No questions. Here are the rules. No questions. No questions. No questions. It does a great job. I think you're right. If you were constantly stimulated, at what point does that stimulation just become the norm and it doesn't become positive or negative or arousing or depressing? And again, that's why they become these tourists, to go get some new stimuli to experience what other people are actually going through that actually is bad, because they're sitting there feeling terrible for themselves. Meanwhile, they're just fine. The problem is they're just average.
Well, to me, it seems like with him, I'm not disagreeing. That's what he's doing there with the support groups, but I would imagine somewhere along the way, is it possible to where you forget who you are and you start living another personality? Because you're awake so much, all of a sudden you're what would have been your normal personality kind of shuts off and does probably go to sleep. But then, since your body actually doesn't rest or sleep, you just have a second personality that all of a sudden comes forward.
I don't know.
I don't know either, but apparently that's kind of what happens with him.
Yeah, he straight up had a split personality disorder. That's what landed him in the loony bin. That and trying to blow his brains out.
Well, I imagine you think anyone trying to beat the shit out of themselves.
I mean, at that point of the movie, I'm like, this is great. This makes so much sense. Keep that one in the back of your mind.
But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I think it was a fun movie. Those are great actors, though.
Phenomenal actors.
What was your favorite part of the movie?
Man. That's a tough one. I think See, there's like some very poignant parts, like when he goes to drink the water and it's
They're at the paper ship company.
yeah, dude, that's so bad. I mean, ultimately, I think some of the funny pieces are what make it great. Like the clips where you're seeing that he's splicing these porno shots into the movies that people were seeing, or he's, the lady who's like, I just want somebody to come and do me, please.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie, though, I think it has to be when Bob dies.
I was gonna say that, but it's pretty morbid.
It is kind of morbid, but I mean, like when he gets his like minions here, right, that are part of Project Mayhem, they don't have names. But when Bob dies, and this is part where his true personality comes out. It's like, hey, but you guys are stupid. Like, he has a name and stuff like that. And then,
you all have names.
And then he's like, and that one guy, so he's so brainwashed or whatever. He's like, oh, I get it. In death, we have a name, and that name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson. And you see it even happen like in other cities too, like them saying his name is Robert Paulson.
Yeah.
So Bob, his big friend, he ends up like living in Project Mayhem as a person. Like when you die, that's the name that you get.
I think that's the most interesting piece of the whole story to me, is where I don't think that they're wrong, is you think about this idea, this guy who's like, oh man, I'm just going anti-consumerist ideal, and I want to start a cult. And it sounds like this impossibility, but I think that every part of this movie is like so possible and so real that it's mind blowing, because believe it or not, if you haven't looked out there, there are tons of desperate people, most of them males. Let's face it. There's a reason why the male suicide rate is the highest of all ages, groups. It's interesting that the males, doesn't matter again what age or group, has the highest suicide rate, but that's because they're so desperate. The societal pressures put upon them and failures felt. I think that makes this movie that much, or the book in particular, that much more believable, because there are a ton of people. If you want to look the other way and pretend that that's not real, look the other way and pretend that's not real. There are easily thousands of people. He wouldn't even have to, if he really had this idea and he had some money because he got his little cash payout. It would be easy for him to set up groups to build a cult who was that desperate and who want to be part of something bigger than themselves, because at that moment they only have themselves.
Right. I think another favorite part of mine there in that movie is when the owner of the bar comes downstairs and starts beating the crap out of Edward Norton. And he's like, come on, let us stay here. Let us fight here. That part was pretty funny.
It was pretty good.
Pretty bloody and violent, but it was pretty funny.
I mean, at the end of the day, he gets to stay.
He gets to stay. The funny part, though, is really like the owner of the club, after he gets them beat the crap out of him, like, you're fucking nuts, dude. Sure, you can stay.
Yeah, I'm out. I don't need any of this. I'm out. It's real.
It is real. What's his name, Tony or something like that?
Probably, usually is. What's up, Tony? Hey, Tony.
All right, anything else we want to say about the movie?
No, that was just it. It's one of these interesting, it is one of those cult classics, but it's also very simple. Tons of action. You've got, an hour 40 plus minutes of nonstop action, but it's like the book is intelligently written. The movie's intelligently directed, but really it's the actors, I think, that were flawlessly chosen, play their roles perfectly, and make this movie great. I think you put two subpar actors in there. You take away Edward Norton or you take away Brad Pitt, the movie fails. It flops. It's not exciting. It's not sexy. There's something sexy about the movie.
There is, and I think this is when Edward Norton was like in his heyday of acting. So you definitely had to have another star to shine just as bright as him on the flip side.
Yeah.
Because I think they were both like, they balanced each other out pretty well. Because it could have been easy for one side to overpower the other side, but since both their acting was so strong, I think it just complemented each other.
Totally.
All right. Well, what are we going to be drinking next week?
Next week, Noah has procured for us a bottle of the Ben Riach single malt Scotch whiskey, peated cask strength. So that's where it's at.
So what does it say? Like, does it say what the alcohol content is on there?
I'm sure it's at least 46%.
Okay.
Oh, shit. Next week, Noah's getting lit. 60. 60.
Oh, wow.
Peated cask strength on batch number 2, baby.
Okay.
All right.
Rachel Berry's going to fuck us up.
I mean, there could be worse things.
All right. And our topic for next week is going to be watch the movie The Time Machine.
Okay.
With Pierce Guy, is that his name? Or Guy Pierce? Guy Pierce.
1970?
No, 2002.
Okay, the more recent one?
The more recent one.
Okay.
And I know like that's only part of the Smart Challenge, because the other part is going to be if you could go back in time in history, what part of history would you like to go visit and why? And I know like the book / movie doesn't really like pertain too much like with like really traveling in history, because like he got I don't know, he goes some weird places, but it was the Morlocks or something like that. Yeah. So I know, but it kind of is like on the same realm there. So we can talk a little bit about the movie and a little bit about like what time, like what era in time that we like to visit, and just kind of like watch as like an overseer.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of two right now. One, the more recent one, going back in time with a super powerful telescope to watch the first moon landing not happen. Number two, going back in time, if I could figure out when they were actually built, to watch the aliens build the pyramids. That would be cool.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Because we know it wasn't slave labor.
Yeah, please.
There's no way you get a bunch of slaves to build the pyramids to last that long and with that type of precision.
The most stunning piece of any of that to me is the fact that there aren't more people fascinated by it. I'm not saying you have to become a conspiracy theorist or start believing in all sorts of crazy conspiracies. Just look at the sheer math. The fact that these things, these giant stones that make some of these pyramids weigh 200,000 tons. So 4 million pounds. There's like 2 cranes on the planet that can lift one of these.
Well, and how accurate could they place everything? Like,
yeah. And how many of them died when it fell on them underneath? Like, let's be real. I love all the theories. Oh yeah, they just used a bunch of logs from trees that were on a different continent to roll them. Now, I'm like,
I do think it's possible. Like maybe ancient civilizations had maybe had like better technology than we had, and we lost that technology.
It may have been materials technology, much like in the movie Avatar. I don't disagree, but then at some point somebody took those materials or that technology again.
Because I think you can like lift like heavy things using harmonics or something like that, like sound waves, which could be possible. Like I don't like supposedly the guy who built that weird ass like Florida castle moved big monolithic rocks all by himself and built that coral castle, I think is what it's called. But
pretty impressive.
Yeah. So he apparently said he knew, like, he found the ancient technology of what they used to build the pyramids, but he like randomly died and his secret went with him.
Weird.
Yeah, I know, right? Anywho, anything you want to say to the people?
No, drink responsibly. All you kids getting ready to go back to school, please study hard, be smart, think for yourselves. Don't just follow the masses. Don't go with the herd mentality. But most of all, drink responsibly. Because as Noah mentioned earlier, he doesn't expect all of you to wait till you're 21. I don't either. So drink responsibly. Remember, life is great.
Life is great. And yes, I don't expect a lot of people to wait till they're 21. Maybe there's going to be a few out there, but yeah, definitely drink responsibly. Especially if you're going to be a freshman going into college for the first time and, you know, joining any Greek society houses and stuff like that. You know, just be responsible drinking. Don't get too crazy.
And now, there are some people that are really particular about their birthdays, right?
Yes.
Are you one of those where you're like, I don't want people to know my damn birthday?
I don't care if they know my birthday. I just more particular about like saying how old I am.
All right. Well, happy birthday tomorrow, Noah.
Thank you, sir.
And with that, you'll finally be 21, legal drinking age.
21 again. Yes.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could just spin over like we all be like, okay, what number is he going to land on? That's
I
how
don't
old
know.
I am
It'd
this
be
year.
kind of suck though if you got like 98 or something.
There aren't that many numbers on the roulette wheel. You're talking about like 1 through 50. The problem would be like, what happens if you end up on 00 green? Like, oh, I'm a sperm.
Does that mean you're 100?
Yeah, I'm getting shot out again. Oh, Mom. Didn't want to remember this. God damn, God.
If you guys made it this far, you're hearing all this, congrats to you, because this is pretty funny shit here.
Yeah, or what if, yeah, could be just that, like, oh, I'm not finding that egg. I'm dead.
I'm dead. All right. If you have made it this far, thank you for watching us. We are on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio, and some other places as well. Thank you for all of you who are supporting us and watching us on any one of those platforms. We do greatly appreciate that. In the description down below, the very first link is for the Patron members there to become a Podbean patron. If you do happen to donate to us, all that money does go back into our podcast and allows us to procure scotches, rent movie theaters and such like that, such things like that. And hopefully you guys all have a wonderful week. Thanks again. And
Scotchman. Cheers.
Cheers. We hope you enjoyed this evening's episode of Scotch Hour. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you have not done so already, please become a Patreon member with memberships starting as low as $1 a month. Thank you, and hopefully you have a wonderful evening.